So it is January 2025, and I thought I would just do kind of a revisit of some classic brands. These aren't the exact recipes when they started, but I thought, it's been years since I've really tried them side by side or in one sitting. Now, all these are brands that if you were at like an Applebee's or a Chili's or at the airport and they had a craft beer, it was probably one of these. This is in Arizona. And so we got Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, originally came out in 1981. We got the Boston Lager, Boston Brewing Company, Samuel Adams, came out in 1984. And then the Deschutes Black Butte Porter, 1988. And then Fat Tire from New Belgium, 1991. I'm guessing that they're all really high quality still. I suspect they're all going to be better than I remember, just because of better ingredients, better hop selection, way better packaging. Now, in terms of expiration dates, this was brewed October 31st, so this is the second week of January. This was bottled October 31st of last year. This was this is good through April of 2025, so a few more months. This was packaged on end of November 2024, and this is good through April 2025. So they're all reasonably fresh. I'm just going to open them up, pour them out, talk about them. I like that one of the things that they did then and now is they're kind of sticking to their own lane. This came out as like a really hoppy, expressive version of maybe like a English bitter, an English pale ale. And right away, yeah, really hoppy, piney, citrus. We got the Boston Lager. Crackery malt, noble hops. And we've got the Black Butte Porter. And this one, chocolate, malty, a tiny bit of alcohol on that, just kind of curiously. And we got the Fat Tire in a can. And I'm not pouring these in any kind of official way, I'm just pouring them out. And way more subdued than the others. I'm getting nice kind of almost like a peach ester from the yeast, possibly. Or maybe the hops, a little bit of crackery malt. Not very hoppy, not very malty, just kind of nicely balanced. So I'm just going to go back through here, and yeah, it's kind of fruity hops, piney, citrus, resinous, kind of like a nice sweet neutral malt background. Cheers. Dry, hoppy, not super bitter, maybe even a little bit less bitter than I remember. Yeah, I mean, it's got some of that green character of, I think they use whole cone hops, a little bit of like a green hop character to it, but really refreshing, nice bitterness. You want to take another sip as soon as you finish swallowing. That's pretty much what I remember. Maybe a little bit drier, maybe a little less bitter than I remember. Let's try the Sam Adams Boston Lager. Now this was, I guess, remastered a couple years ago. I think they've gone more old world German. It's vaguely Vienna style. I don't think they've ever officially said what their style is, but this actually reminds me of some fest beers I've had of recent in terms of the hop expression, kind of a floral, spicy, noble hop, crackery malt, kind of almost like a toasty, bready malt. Yeah, I mean, I remember this being more just like a vague. Sorry about the road noise. I am filming outside, obviously. Um, yeah, this one's actually really smells great. It's I remember being kind of a more of a pre-prohibition lager type, just not a lot of hop expression, but it was a little hoppy, and looked darker than the yellow fizzy macro beers. Um, so let me try it. Really nicely flavorful. Again, I would say this tastes a little bit like if you took a third of the original Sam Adams and maybe like a third of a kind of modern fest beer and maybe like a third Vienna lager. That's kind of what I'm getting. It's dry, it's drinkable. It's finishes like with hop, hop character. Very dry, not overly bitter, but just a lot of nice noble hops. Oh, good job. I like the remaster. I actually think it's a little more. I feel like it settled in a little bit more on a specific lane of being a little more old world and German to me. And we have Black Butte Porter. Yeah, caramel and coffee and chocolate. Some fruity esters, some dark fruits in there. Not getting a lot of hops, I don't think. I'm not getting that alcohol that I got in that first whiff. Yeah, I mean, definitely some roastiness and some caramel and some chocolate, coffee, um, bitterness, a nice firm bitterness at the end. Not a lot of hop flavor, but there is a firm bitterness. Fruity esters, maybe like an English ale ish. Um, but I would say it's actually really dry. It looks like it's going to be a little sweet and caramely, but actually it's a very dry finishing beer. It's got that nice firm bitterness too. It's probably the beer that I have drunk the least of all these over the years. I probably got into craft beer 2007, 2008 ish, right around then. Um, and probably have had the most of maybe Fat Tire in Sierra Nevada, then probably Boston Lager, and then I have had this several times. Still a solid porter. And finally, we've got the Fat Tire, which is, I think, another like upgrade on their recipe. It's much more subdued. It's much more subdued than these other beers. It is got a little bit of a crackery malt, a little bit of a fruity ester to it. I think in terms of the hops, I'm not really getting a lot of hops in here. Vaguely a little bit earthy, a little bit spicy, maybe a little bit fruity. Definitely not like a piney, I wouldn't even call it citrus. Not getting that floral here. But I would say it's actually got this interesting interplay of the fruity ester, a small fruity ester, like a peach maybe from the yeast, whatever their yeast they're using. Little bit of a crackery, biscuity malt, and then just maybe a touch of earthy hops in there. Well, let's give it a sip. Oh, really nice. It's more on the refreshing and neutral, kind of refreshing neutral. Not I'm not getting a macro flavor here. I've heard some people say, well, the Fat Tire they're moving more towards like a macro style. I'm not really getting that. I can't imagine any of the big macro breweries putting this out. Solid beer. It's not really a blonde ale. It's supposed to be an amber ale. Um, but they are not going heavy on any kind of super strong biscuity malt or English type profile here. I don't think it is a little more lean and maybe refreshing in terms of flavor, but it is like really well made. I'm gonna refresh my cup here. Maybe even a little bit of like almost like a sulfur kind of. But it's interesting. It's not off-putting. Yeah, nicely done. I guess I think what I like about this is that it really kind of defies categories. It's not. I would not call it very English. It has a little bit of biscuit malt, crackery malt, and it has yeast expression, but not at all Belgium like fruity ester or phenolics. It's not. I would not call it a hoppy beer at all, but there's some hops in there. Balanced. I mean, this is just straight up a balanced, drinkable, refreshing beer. Well, that was fun. I'm just gonna give one more pass here and kind of finish with my thoughts here. Boom. Hoppy, bitter, dry. Again, this reminds me of so many fest beers. I don't know. I know they're not going for a fest beer, but that reminds me of a fest beer. And the Black Butte Porter. Yeah, more coffee's coming out now. Dry. It's probably the one that has aged the least gracefully in terms of modern beers. It definitely takes you back. This takes you back. It's just kind of those darker malts, and the hops are not particularly expressive. I think most people would find it just like they don't probably get it. And then one more time with the Fat Tire. It's a bit more neutral, but I think it's really well made. So, anyways, hope you enjoyed that. I did. And see you next time.